Alright, so we're live on YouTube, Twitch. Come on, Twitch, time to connect. There it goes. Alright, let's do our intro real quick. Alright, if you like what I'm doing, please consult me if you like what I'm doing. Alright, so we're at the RLCMate development with Red Queen. RLCMate is basically the next step to the so-called Red Light Center or Ultiverse that now. So I'm kind of hoping we can actually get some sneak peek of some gameplay action and that now. So that way we can get an idea of what the next level or the next stage to the Red Light Center. And again, the Red Light Center Nate is the next step to Red Light Center. And the Red Light Center Nate is based on the Unity game engine, whereas Red Light Center, which is we're on now, is on a very old game engine that's like 15 years old now. RLCMate, which is the next step, it's going to be on the Unity engine. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. So here we go. So again, like I said, this is Red Light Center Nate, which is supposed to be the sequel to the Red Light Center. And again, Red Light Center is on an old 15-year-old game engine. Red Light Center Nate is going to be on the Unity game engine. So I'm kind of hoping that we actually see some gameplay and see what it looks like, everything else. Because like I said, Red Light Center, it's been around. I mean, it's been around for, yeah, see, Brian's got 17 patents for it, but, yeah, I mean, Red Light Center / Ultiverse, it's been around a very long time, and it's on an old game engine, so, and I heard them testing the mic, so we should be going live soon.
Hello, everybody. Can I be heard? I guess I can be. Great. I was having some technical difficulties with the audio here.
Aww.
So, how's everybody enjoying VCon?
Like I did in that Manhattan trade show.
Did everybody enjoy Brian's speech yesterday? What about the presentation from other RLCMate contributors? I think the art director already was on. Was interesting. Cool. Yeah, there was a few other talks. There was also the NFT talk, I suppose. Did everybody check out the gallery? Well, I mean, I have been sneaking around in VirtualCon myself. I thought it was pretty cool what everybody was doing.
Alleen niet lang in en ander dat multitasking.
Right? I'm opening up a few things here. So I can show you guys if you should have a slideshow here. See if I can open it. Great. So what I've been seeing a lot of what everybody is doing here is that during these conventions and during these speeches, everybody is constantly talking about how their day in their life is. So a day in the life of a protector, a day in the life of an ambassador, a day in the life of a staff mod. And I figured, well, let's make this meeting about that as well, right? So what's the day like in the life of myself? So usually I get up in the morning and then the first thing I do is I go brush my teeth. And after that, usually I need a little bit of a splash of water in my face. So I get a little bit more washed and clean and feel a little bit fresher. And after that, I usually do my hair. Just because it's so frizzy and I don't like it everywhere. As well as after that, I usually get up and I try to wake my daughter up, see if she's ready, see if she wants to get up. And after that, usually my day starts with working. She's now 3.5. Well, a little bit over. So.
Aww.
So yeah, that's kind of the day in the life of me. After that, usually we eat. After that, we usually go to daycare. After that, I work some more. After that, I go pick her up. After that, we go for dinner. Usually, after that, we go for a little bit of playtime. Yeah. And after that, usually a shower. And after that, well, usually it's either a little bit more playtime, depending on how much time we have left, or a little bit of TV. And after that, it's bedtime, and we go back to bed. And I think that kind of sums it up, right? That's kind of the day in the life of me. So I want to thank everybody for coming. This was great for me. I mean, this was awesome. I mean, I'm happy that you all wanted to share this with me. I mean, for me, it was great. I hope everybody enjoyed that. It's definitely a nice crowd here. I mean, I don't understand why everybody's here for showing up for my day in the life. I mean, I wonder if everybody else's day go differently. But I guess all kidding aside, I guess I'm here to talk about something specific, aren't I? So who is here wanting to hear a little bit more about the development of red light sensor mate? I know I don't sleep a lot, but I am a real person. I'm not yet a robot. I mean, that's something I would like to be. So, as everybody knows, a little bit of history on Utherverse or utherverse, depending how you want to pronounce it. The legacy client has now been approximately 16 years old. And I'm sure everybody knows there used to be a development team dealing with this. And they were the ones taking over from a different development team who kind of jump-started this. And they've been the development team for quite a long time. At some point, I think it was around 2010, they realized that there was an issue with running the legacy software. Basically, the way it was built and everything was compiled was just, well, for lack of better words, shitty. So, and I think everybody knows the next step that proceeded, which turned out to be Curio, which I'm sure many of you here would call a fiasco. Not entirely sure if everybody would agree on that, but I certainly would say it was a fiasco. I mean, it's a product that had some future, but never really knew its place in the world. After that, and I don't know how many of you know this. I had been asked, I mean, I was a community member as everybody else here, to, because they learned about, a little bit of my talents and my background about development and what I do and the passion I have for this project. So they asked me to join in. And this was around, I should say, around 2020 now. So about 2 years ago. So I decided as a volunteer project I help out, and the first thing I basically did was I focused all my attention on the legacy project and made sure that everything here kept going for a long, long time. The other thing I did, and this is something I started doing in 2015 when they first announced Curio, when they released the alpha and beta, I tried to be part of that. And the moment I got in, I always thought that there's a lot of potential here. And I didn't really understand why they were taking a specific course with this product. So when I became a developer here in 2020, the second thing I did was I opened Curio and I started looking into what they were actually building, trying to actually understand the logic behind it. And I think one of the big problems that Curio was facing was an identity crisis. Specifically, I think it didn't really know its place in the world. It didn't really know what it was replacing or what it was doing. And I think the disconnect between the Utherverse or RLC program and Curio was way too big of a leap and way too big of a gap. And I always thought, and I don't know what everybody else here thinks about this, but I always thought that Curio was going to be the replacement of this legacy product and being its successor. When I dig into the code, I don't think this was ever really the intention. I mean, there might be the possibility for it, but it wasn't the intention. So this development team left right before I joined, so I never really had much chance to interact with them. The next steps that we did after we secured legacy was we were trying to figure out how we're going to go forward. What is it that people want? What is it that our community wants? And I think the main and important thing that our community always wanted was they wanted a better and improved version of the legacy product. As a technical feat, the legacy product is a very difficult project to undertake. All the years that they've been developing this, all the things that work in here are pretty much complex on the back end. It is really difficult for people to really grasp what legacy tries to be, which is a virtual 3D browser, effectively, right? So you are supposed to be able to visit URLs, you are supposed to visit places, you are supposed to go to unique locations, go to unique worlds, build your own and expand your fantasy, right? Like, it doesn't matter what your fantasy is, it should be possible within this system. That is what the core essence always has been. The other thing, of course, in order to do this, it needs to be providing a lot of tools to do this. And I'm sure people here are aware of decorating clothing design as a few of the core things, right? These are things that users can do as interactions, as a way of making these places. However, on the back end of all this, there's a lot of infrastructure that is needed. Networks, routers, servers, world servers in order for us to connect this as a multiplayer program, as well as a lot of other features. So what we did is we took the concept of the legacy product and we decided that, okay, so what are these features in there? We mapped them out and we identified the ones that we could easily recreate in a new program. So the way we're handling development has been pretty much based on a modular workflow. So we take a specific aspect and we start improving that aspect until we are happy and that it is robust as it can be. So I want to take everybody here to a specific screenshot here that I took. I'm sure most of you are somewhat well aware of this this view, right? This is the legacy client, specifically the quick bar, specifically the quick bar editor. This is a concept that I took and that we started iterating on, right? So the first steps that we basically take, and I'm going to talk just about the quick bar today in terms of how a specific module works within the new game. So we took this and we identified, okay, so there's a few things that it needs to do. How do we do this? So we came up with a first iteration. Right? So the first iteration on this is a very simple framework, right? We have the ability bar where we can add buttons that you can click. We added a folder where you can open the quick bar editor. And we decided, okay, let's see how this quick bar interface, what it looks like. And we took that as, okay, this is simply here we have abilities. This screenshot is from approximately now 2 years old. So this is one of the first things that we pretty much did here, right? From that, we, of course, made the systems behind this, such as, okay, the button needs to be clickable. From there, we also had to deal with, okay, if I press a number on my keyboard, if I press 1 or 2 or 3, then that action needs to occur. In order for these actions to occur, there needs to be animations loaded. So we needed to create a whole animation pipeline behind this. We need to link these things back up to this UI for people to actually interact and click with. After that, the next step, once we had this concept of, okay, I can click something, I can interact with this, what is the next thing that we're going to be looking at? Which would be the quick bar editor itself, right? So how this works, I think, in Legacy is you open this quick bar, you have menu items, and you drag them to the quick bar. And then you can interact and you can do your actions. Part of this, right? Part of this dragging and part of this adding these buttons. One of the things that pretty much quickly became apparent is that this list is long, right? When I open all these action menus, all these lists, there's a whole bunch of this. There's tons and tons and tons in Legacy in terms of when I look at the emoticon. So when we did this, we immediately noticed and identified, like, how are we going to categorize these things? As well as how are we going to be able to expand this in such a way that we can limitlessly scale this. So if ever we have to, in the future, want to add the ability for people to add their own animations to the game, how do we deal with that? So in the next iteration, we came up with the idea of doing this via buttons, right? Icons that could be identified, could be grabbed, could be put on the quick bar. Again, this was kind of how we thought this represents how it kind of works in Legacy, and people would be very familiar with this. But is it really how we want this to look? Is this really the way this should be functioning? That is a question that always comes up when we're designing these things. And we quickly realized, like, okay, this is not really the prettiest way of dealing with this. These buttons, we need to do better art for them. We need to make them better identifiable. How do we deal with that? So we started hiring and we started getting people who are way more familiar with UI, UX design, as well as people who are familiar with art. So eventually we ended up with better artwork. This artwork, of course, makes it a little bit more identifiable. Okay, what are these actions? What exactly can I do here? How is this going to function? How is this going to work? And that's the idea kind of behind how we want to make this all look. But again, we started to think a little bit bigger. One of the things that I personally always kind of disliked is that we call this a quick bar editor. Because really, what it kind of is an ability book. So what we did is we renamed it, we gave it a book icon, and that now allows us to basically go into World and go into and open the ability book. Another thing that there's a few things that people have always questioned and wondered about. Now that I've shown you guys the quick bar, who here wants me to show how it currently looks? Shall I indulge you guys? Shall I showcase a little bit of where we are with the design of this? So, welcome to RLCMate. I'm in one of the new zones that we're going to be showcasing. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that start looking familiar, right? Some of the things that you're used to. Some elements. The chat has been slightly cleaned up. As well as, I'm sure everybody can see the corner ring. There's a few things that we're still thinking about and how we're going to deal with these things. And of course, we can see the ability bar in its, well, it's not the final iteration because we're still going to do making it a little bit prettier and making some of the missing functionalities, such as being able to cycle through animations, as well as going through different lists, as you all are familiar with. And I have been talking a little bit about, the ability book itself. and the list that you guys have seen. Should I show you guys what the new ability book looks like? So this is what we came up with. It's a little bit of a better way of handling things, right? So the ability of going through different menus, being able to quickly see which items and which different abilities are in a category without having to go through a specific lists. And of course, what we of course as well did is that we kept the ability of adding these animations back to the ability bar, right? Because that's what you guys are used to, right? We click the icon, we drag it, we drop it on the quick bar. And that's, I suppose, good enough, right? But is it good enough? Could we do better? That's always a question that is on my mind. So when I'm looking at these things, I'm always like, could I do this better? Could I do this quicker? This dragging, is this functional for everybody? Something you can also see when I'm dragging abilities on the quick bar is that we now actually account for which items are actually put on the quick bar. So I can already see, oh, these exist on the quick bar. I don't have to know which one I'm missing anymore. The other thing, of course, that makes it a little bit more easy in this case is, what if I want to remove one, right? Okay, I have this one now on my quick bar. I remove it. I drop it. Oh, it's no longer on my quick bar. Of course, this dragging and dropping, it's as fun as it could be. But it could, of course, be made a little bit better. What, exactly as Brianna said, I'll make this double clickable. I don't have to deal with specifically adding which items I want to put on this quick bar anymore. This makes the functionality a little bit better, a little bit quicker, right? The same could be said about removing these things, right? I don't want this on my quick bar anymore. I remove them. And that works pretty solidly. These small things, even though they don't seem like this, they're very big or very impactful things, they will make it eventually a lot easier for us to deal with how people can quickly learn and how quickly people can interact with these things. We don't have to teach people anymore, okay, you need to drag this on to the quick bar. As well as, what if I want to clean up my entire quick bar, right? Because that's another thing. What if I want to get everything away? Well, perhaps we could do that, right? So I have put all these different icons on there, and I don't want them anymore. Well, let's just remove them. I could double click them from here, right? That takes me a while to do this. But if I just double click here and I remove them all, this saves me all the time in the world of having to figure out where they are on the quick bar or how I need to remove them from the quick bar. Again, this is the way we're handling all these different aspects, and we're trying to make it so that we can add and improve on existing features within the game. There's probably a few more things I could show off if I'm in the mood for it today. But first of all, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts and your guys' remarks on, is this the way that you guys want to see this flourish and go forward? I mean, these are things that, you know, when I ask this from the community, these are things people have been asking for years. So what we usually do is we take this pool of submissions from you guys, and we filter out everything that deals with questions regarding the quick bar, and then we try and improve these things. Exactly. And as Jen specifically says there, that's one of the key aspects that I want to try and embed here. There's nothing wrong with the legacy project. It works. It's familiar, and exactly the familiarity and the functionality is something we have a very high strive for. This is something I definitely constantly tell the development team, which I should also say, the development team, kudos to them. It's becoming a much bigger development team. We're very much expanding in the last few months. We are hiring like crazy. So there's plenty of places you can now see job applications and the people we're looking for and the people we're hiring for. And before can we see the avatar walk, please? Do I really want to walk around? What if the avatar's broken? I don't know for sure on this build. Should I try? I know the camera isn't great. And I'm sure this is a very familiar view to you guys as well. Right, we have some dance moves and all going on.
Okay, that's good. Now just keep them going with your voice.
I'm hearing something. Somebody
That looks great.
joined the room?
Now just go easy. This is your first time out.
I never could take so.
Okay. Let me check if I can kick them from the room.
Jesus Christ, there's 58 people on here. On this chat thing now.
That was freaking awesome. Go again. Oh.
Then turn your media thing off, right?
There we go.
I don't know.
The girl.
Before you go to the theater,
I don't mind taking care of Jerry.
before you go to the
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know how to do that.
on the top right, you see the wheel? You go into
Wheel!
the red. Aren't you on RLC?
No!
I guess somebody figured out that there's a way to get in here with in-game audio, I'm going to guess. There we go. Yep. This is exactly a good point of showing off that. Why are we migrating to something new, right? These things are simply something that we have to contend with in the legacy system, and we can probably improve on this in the future. So, now that I've shown off a little bit of the new stuff, what questions do you guys have? I won't go into specifics on Deco. The reason why I won't go into specifics on Deco is that everything regarding Deco is in a conceptual stage. There has not been any development in Deco. So specifically Deco and clothing are things I'm not looking into at the moment. And this is something we'll look into once the product goes to production and once we release the product. So it will not be features that are going to be implemented on launch. How it's going to function outside of the client is, again, things we're still discussing internally, and I can't really... As for timescale, I think Brian indicated this, that we're going to be going in alpha somewhere within the next 3 months, which should be way sooner than I think, than that sounds, to be honest, because I think we're closer to that than 3 months. In terms of beta, that's going to be probably this year as well for specific users. So people who have signed up to this beta program, which we will be announcing, which will be giving people the chance to join into, but it will be a limited beta. And there's probably going to be an open beta following after that. Right, so just to iterate on that, specifically, you need to be VIP, and you need to be a VIP before a certain date. If you're not VIP and not used the game before this, and I'm talking about the legacy client here, before that date, then you will not have a chance to get into the closed beta. When this also is true for anybody who VIPs themselves after this date. The date will be announced. Mr. Schuster O'Brien, he would definitely know the timetable a lot better than I would on this, because that's more of a business side of things than a development side of things. So the business divisions and marketing divisions, they dictate more or less time frames. I don't really know how it will be announced. I'm going to assume it's going to be privately. I don't know about the specific details that you will have to agree to upon becoming a beta tester. This is usually something that you have to agree to before you can actually enter the game. So it might be that this can be disclosed, but it might also be possible that the beta is closed off for showing off to the public. So this kind of depends, exactly, this kind of depends on what kind of form they will have you sign. Again, I don't know the specifics on these things. Again, I'm more a developer than dealing with the paper side of things. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with showing videos as a tester. It kind of depends on how far we are, I suppose, with development, how polished it is. But again, I don't think we are here for keeping any secrets. So I don't think there's going to be much issue if something does go out. Because again, we are wanting to show progress. That's exactly why I'm showing this as well. And I should have probably put a disclaimer on this as well. Like, all what you're seeing here today is in development footage, and everything is still subject to change. Yes. So when it comes to the background, which is a lot more difficult to showcase, which is also way more where I'm familiar with things. I'm not really a front-end developer myself. I'm more of a back-end developer. Even though I do lead all the development teams and development people also for the front end. But when it comes to the back end, it's a lot more complicated, as I explained earlier. So the back end is complex, it's big, it's large, and the thing is, one of the things that we have as a problem with the legacy system is that nothing's scaled. So what we're working specifically and very hard on at the moment is that whatever feature we're going to add is that it can scale to a lot more depth than what we can do now. So for example, when I'm talking about this, a very specific key aspect of scaling is how do we store things like textures? How do we store things like objects? How do we store big files, basically? And I can honestly say we have pretty much got the system and set up on the network now that we are able to do this to an unlimited scale. So even though these things are not going to be included for you guys to interact with and for you guys to do decorating and do clothing, we are in the possibility of realm now that we can do all these things, uploading all these big files and hosting them. This is what you're seeing when you're looking at my screen here. All these things are stored and downloaded from a server rather than being displayed locally. Well, I mean, there's a lot of marketing going on right now, and when you talk about specifically Utherverse, I get that it's not well known, but you should be aware that we have a lot of franchises, we have a lot of business partners, we have a lot of other marketing platforms and operations going on outside just this legacy client. So we have a bigger, larger community that we can reach out to when we are going into production. Some of these things is why we're also doing the NFT thing. It's just to get our name out there and to get the ability out there for people to know about us. I should also say that specifically RLCM will be a adult world within a much bigger scope. And this is the scope that Brian has been talking a little bit about yesterday, which is called Aeon. And there will be a lot more virtual worlds that can be interacted with than just RLCM. So Red Light Center Mate is simply a single sovereign within a much, much larger scope. Decorators and clothing creators will, as far as I'm aware, will just be asked the same fee as it always was for uploading textures. I don't know what the exact fee is going to be. I'm going to wager it's going to not differ much from what it currently is, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a single ray. Exactly. The model is exactly to store everything on our own servers, exactly to prevent these things that we have issues with in the past, where what if a user leaves? Oh, what if the third-party website goes down? What if PhotoBucket changes their URLs? What if something changes? All these things are pretty much core to what we want to achieve in the future. I don't know exactly how the modeling for clothes is gonna go. That's still a questionable thing. This is more of an art question. I would assume there's not going to be a fee. But again, I don't know the exact licensing behind this. So there might be a requirement for there to be a fee. But I do think we have still a list of people who paid the fee in the past. So I would assume that people who have done that, and if there is going to be a fee, that we can simply export those people who have paid that fee. Yes, the new product will feature crypto pay, which will be an integral part of Aeon, not necessarily be an integral part of Red Light Center Mate. However, similar to how it works on the marketplace, you probably will have to convert things from one to the other. We are using Character Creator, and we probably will be importing Character Creator files. I know there's a lot of questions, so I'm trying to keep up with. I'm trying to answer as many as I can here. I won't be able to attend everything because I have only 9 minutes left. In terms of crypto, most questions I think have been answered or will be answered by the utherverse.io website. I don't know exactly how we're going to allow interactions yet when it comes to accessing the avatars. But it's definitely on my mind in terms of trying to do this. I mean, we have a character, when it comes to character design and character profile creation, we already have a character creator within the system now. So we are able to, for people, when you log into the new Red Light Center Mate, you are able to create your profile and your character before you actually even go into the game. In terms of communication between Legacy and or Classic and Mate, that's going to be a little bit tricky because the problem isn't specifically the future product, but we need to modify the chat in game here in the Legacy product in order to make that a realization. But one of the more key aspects for this is that we first have to complete migrating the Legacy product to a new data center that is way more stable than where it currently resides. I'm definitely looking into the possibility. Chat is a very important thing, and it's pretty much the key to community. So yes, there's everything I'm trying to think of while we're designing this is that we make chat modular and available across Aeon. And if that's possible and we can integrate Legacy into Aeon, then yes, chat probably will be possible to be cross-platform. So I'm getting to the end of my my presentation here. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. I know development is never really the most fun thing to look at. I know that there's always issues, and I'm sure when you look at the screen that there's definitely things that need to be improved. And before I go out and before I leave, I want to show one small feature that we have been building into the system. I know everybody here is very well aware, or at least I assume some of you guys are aware, that within the legacy system, you often play a little game when it comes to parties called catch. The moment that we do that in the legacy system, everybody types in catch, and the number of the person who catches it then gets a prize. Well, I can show you guys how we're going to be adding some functionality in the new system for this. As you can see on my screen now, there will be an option for you guys to initiate a catch game. And when you click on the present, then you might be able to win a prize.
Oh wow, a little mini game.
And I hope this kind of functionality is going to be fun for you guys to try out. And on that note, thank you all, and bye all.
Yay! I finally learned how to do clapping. Alright, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and break it because the next speaker's about to start, so I need to break this stream right here now and get ready for the next one. So here's our ending. Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, Seth on another Jr. Thank you for watching my stream. Please click on that follow button. Please also hit the little bell notification to come follow me. But I do want to point out those little links there. Please go to those links if you want to get more info. And please come to my Patreon page and support me if you enjoy my work and all. Thank you. Bye. Alright, and I will see everyone later. So give me about a couple of minutes to switch over to the next speaker. Bye now.